Welcome to the Family Law Frontline.
This is Family Law Frontline with Fedor Kozlov. Fedor is the founding partner and chief litigator at the law office of Fedor Kozlov, PC. With over a decade of experience in Illinois family law, he handles high-stakes cases involving custody, property division, domestic violence, and reproductive rights. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're exploring complex parenting cases, especially those involving teenagers and high conflicting parenting dynamics. Fedor, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Kevin, good to see you too.
All right, so we're talking about some more complex parenting cases. What typically, in your experience, makes a custody case particularly complex from a legal standpoint?
Complex custody case. Well, I think every time when you talk about custody, you already, when parents fight over visitations, things like that, it gets complex already.
By its nature, yeah.
And then, of course, it depends on the age of a child, gender. It depends on many things. It depends, one of the things that I find interesting is when, parents live in the same household, which is usually we have only one household, right? So sometimes people have multiple houses, but I'm talking about average family living in the same household. And let's say we have kids that, different ages. Let's say one child is 5, another child is 12. That's what I would think would consider to be a complex litigation custody case. In Illinois, the law is you can move only 25 miles away with the child without another parent consent. Usually parents try to live around school areas. So
Sure.
In my example, you have a child that is 12 years of age. 12 years of age, the child is going to middle school, right? So we have one child who's going to middle school. And now we have another child who is 5, who is not in school yet, maybe in kindergarten-ish, and that could be a little bit different location. Or if the child still stays at home, let's say if the child is 4 years of age, let's say there's 8 years difference. So that makes it really difficult. And why is it difficult? Because people live in the same household, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody has to move out. The whole point of divorce is that you sort of figure out this relationship between the parents, and the parents go their separate ways, right? Because they want, to move on with their lives. So now we have one household, we have 2 kids, and people, let's say they live from paycheck to paycheck. So they don't have a lot in savings. Raising children is expensive by itself. So they spend all this money, and mom is working full-time, father is working full-time. There is not much of a help from in-laws. So one of the parents needs to move out, or both. Let's say that we don't have too much equity in the house. I'm making it a little bit more complex. And what are we going to do now? So they sell the house, and they have to find out the place where they live, so it's close to school. Or somebody has to buy somebody out. And if that person doesn't have enough money to buy out, again, we're talking about selling the house, selling the property. Again, 2020 took, it was quite an experience, and a lot of people lost their savings. Their credit scores went down. Not a lot of people can afford new houses, especially look at the current inflation rates and interest rates. It's 7.5. So let's say you have a nice house with nice interest, and you just cannot afford to buy something and move to a different location. So that makes cases extremely difficult. Not your question was from a legal standpoint, and I went outside of the legal.
That's okay.
I started talking about everyday life. And that's what I always tell my clients. You come to me, you talk to me, I can talk to you, I can consult you, discuss with you whatever legal rights you have as a parent, but then you go back home and you have to live your life. And what are you gonna do in this kind of case? It's really difficult for parents to do. They have to sell the house, and they have to uh, stay. Sort of, both of them have to stay within the 25 sort of miles radius. Ideally, it would be that you stay as close as you can to each other and to the school area. Why does it matter? It's because the law in Illinois is that we don't really have a custody anymore. So we have a physical custody. This child spends X amount of time with this parent and then goes to another parent. And by the way, just quick comment to all of the listeners. People, clients keep asking me, I want to have 50-50 custody, and I want to have a 60-40% custody. There's no such thing as 50-50 or 60-40. It's not like, we're not Roblox. You cannot divide 50-50 for a child. Child is a living human being that's constantly developing. So what are you going to do if your child is, it's Wednesday and it's 2:00 and this is your parenting time, but the child right now is in the school or playing soccer as extracurricular activities? There's no such thing as 50-50, 60-40. It always amazes me when people trying to divide this as 60-40. It has to be in the best interest of the child. But then again, when you talk about 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, it's crazy. I think you cannot divide the day like that.
That's totally true. Yeah,
that creates all sorts of conflicts. And going back to the question, what makes it complex when parents are stubborn, and it's 1:00, it's 2, it's 7:00. I have to have my child, or let's say that the child is ready to go and visit his father. And it's 7:30. The child is very excited because the father promised to go to a zoo next day or do something exciting this evening, and the father is simply not there. And it's 7:15 and it's 7:30 and it's 8:00. It's extremely upsetting for a child. But then when we go back to my example about people living in the same household and now trying to figure out how to live, remember that a lot depends on how parents can cooperate with each other. And this is what happens is this, that we don't have custody anymore. We have what's called decision making. So parents make decisions in regards to children as far as their education, extracurricular activities, schools, and health. And if a parent, both parents cannot find this, middle ground, cannot find a compromise between each other, the court has only one option left. The court's going to award the 100% decision making. It's not a 60-40, it's not a 70-30, it's going to be 100% to one parent.
Right.
And that's upsetting because, sometimes you see parents not thinking what's in the best interest of the child. They thinking what's in the best interest for them. And I hate listening to questions. How come she has, all the rights, and how come she can do this and that? And why do I have to do this? And why is it this way? And why does everything has to go his way or her way? And things of that nature. When this comes to, this kind of arguments, you guys not thinking what's in the best interest of the child.
Right. Well, emotions can be very, 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 very all encompassing. So that's
all the time. With these custody battles, it's all the time. And trust me, that's why people, when you work with a particular case, it's always, one of the first questions that I ask: how old is the child? Because what people have to realize, if you really want to be a good parent, if you really want to take care of your kids, you are the parents that who created a new life, and you will have to be in contact until the child turns 18 years of age, until the child graduates or whatever. And that's very difficult to do because people fight, like you said, Kevin. There are a lot of emotions going back and forth, and one of you can get divorced, you can put everything on the paper, but like I said, there is usual life that you go back to and live your life, and there is a law. I can always not teach you, I consult you in regards to the law, but I cannot live your life for you. And then you take this piece of paper that's marital settlement agreement, you take it back, and then something happens. And that's why the law in Illinois is that you can only, once you sign something, you have it for the next 3 years. You cannot modify it unless there is a substantial change in the circumstances.
Right. Yeah.
And what happens, by the way, if she has a new boyfriend, it's not a substantial change in the circumstance. And I hear it all the time because people become jealous of each other. He has a girlfriend, she has a boyfriend, and it's not going to be the reason for you to bring this case back to court and say, and I see it all the time, she has a new boyfriend, I have no idea who he is, I don't want my child to be around this boyfriend, I don't want this, and that goes the other way as well. We free to move on, we're free to see other people, but you have to remember that this child that you have to communicate with another person until he or she turns at least 18. And the other thing that I sort of noticed a lot, the problems sometimes become due to people not being, upfront with each other,
Sure.
like not putting people on notice. So let's say, a former husband, father of your child, he wants to take the child out of the country, and he purchased tickets. Even though we put it in the agreements, people tend, for some reason, not to disclose it. And it's extremely important for the other parent to know where my child's going to spend a spring break. It doesn't matter if a child is 16 years of age. They think they're grown up, but it's still a child, he or she. And, then you let her former wife know that I'm taking the child to Mexico or Canada or whenever, Europe, for a week or for 2 weeks. Well, guess what? You have to provide all sorts of information to her, where the child's going to stay, the phone number, tickets back and forth, and stuff like that. And you have to give it up front. You can't just let her know that I'm taking the child tomorrow, because she's going to take you an emergency petition to the court, and you might not be able to take your child. So there has to be no secrets from each other. You purchased a new house, you got a new job, you did, you're doing whatever. You enrolled your kid in football, and maybe the mother of the child doesn't want him to play football for whatever reasons. But people tend to think that since we're no longer together, it's not your business anymore what I'm doing with the child, because he's my child as much as he's your child.
Sure.
Why would I
Yeah.
say something to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to discuss before we wrap up is when it comes to teenagers specifically, does the court handle custody disputes differently if teenagers express very strong preferences over which parent they want to live for their primary, where their primary residence is?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Obviously, it depends what is the age of a child, and sometimes gender makes a lot of sense too. I think we spoke before. I'll repeat myself a little bit. So there's a person called guardian ad litem. These are people that sort of child representatives. They represent the child. They will speak to your child, and they are the voices of the children. But here's the thing: And I'll give you two quick examples. One is, sometimes boys, especially during their teenage years, they tend to, like fathers more for different reasons. One of the reasons that the father would let them do whatever they want to do. And the second, and I'm speaking only from my experience, if there are some other different experiences out there, but I would let my kid do, things over, prioritize his computer games over school program, maybe. But but the other thing is that we call it alienation of a child. What happens is that sometimes parents, and again, being fighting with each other, not thinking what's in the best interest of their children, they try to manipulate teenagers' brain, and teenage years is such a vulnerable period of time when your brain actually formulates, and that's how you become an adult, through getting all sorts of experiences. And during this age, you sort of look at the world differently. You're not a child anymore, and you're not an adult anymore, and you're trying to figure it out for yourself. So that's the stage when, as research shows, people are mostly vulnerable to different apprehension. And it's extremely important. The family influence is extremely important. And if there's a strong influence from a parent, saying bad things about another parent, and saying, your father abandoned us, your father is not a good person, your father is this and that, that child, you don't know, that is called alienation of a child. And you don't know how this child will grow up. You don't know if actually the child will take the other side. And we don't want children to take any sides.
Right.
We want them to grow. And
that's not in the best interest of the child, is forcing them to take sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And and then the other thing is, divorces are extremely difficult for children.
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult. The children usually lock themselves in themselves, so they're not as vocal as adults. They cannot go to court and say, whatever they want to say. They have to go through the process. And then for a child, you grow in the community, you go to school, you see how other parents, how other families go, husband and wife, mother and father, and watch other children doing sports or perform on the stage or whatever there is. You see other families being a normal whole family, and now you're not going to go to your friends and just disclose and tell them that my parents getting divorced or whatever. You keep it in yourself. Usually that's what's going on. And it's very difficult for these children to grow up, and you don't know what impact, what effect they're going to have on their lives. And it should not be normal, to my mind, for a child to grow up and say, my mom went through 3 divorces, or my mother and father were divorced, and what that was ugly divorce. Children see that, and even if there are no fights in the family, they feel this negative energy that's going on between the two parents, and especially teenagers. The teenagers observed it, and they need to find the way out. And it's sometimes not the nicest way that not the right way that they find it, but you have to be extremely careful about it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, interesting stuff for sure. Thank you for joining us on the Family Law Frontline. If you're facing a custody case with complex dynamics, get strategic legal guidance. Head to lawyer-il.com. As always, be sure to hit that like button, leave us a review, subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it. Fedor, always great to have you here. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.